welcome to the debate. Today we're diving into a really crucial strategic question for the whole electric vehicle transition. Specifically, how should cities actually build out their charging infrastructure, especially in dense urban centers?
Right, because the way we do it now, well, it's not really scaling fast enough for places like apartment complexes. Our source material actually lays out two pretty distinct and apparently quite effective blueprints for this.
Exactly. The first one really focuses on maximizing energy independence. It uses integrated solar power combined with battery energy storage systems, BESS, as they call them.
And the second approach?
It's more about speed and cost, prioritizing rapid scaling by basically retrofitting existing city assets like streetlights and connecting them straight to the grid. Which brings us to the core debate today. It's really a strategic question, less about the tech itself. For widespread urban EV adoption, should cities put their primary focus on maximizing energy resilience and using, ideally, 100% clean energy sources, which is the promise of the Solar Plus BESS model?
Or should the priority be on maximizing equitable access and just scaling up really fast using the grid infrastructure we already have? That's what the streetlight model seems to achieve almost immediately.
Well, I'm going to argue that the future of resilient urban mobility, it has to be built on maximizing that clean energy use and achieving strategic energy independence. And frankly, that makes integrated battery storage, BESS, the necessary foundation.
Okay, and I'm coming at it from a, let's say, more pragmatic angle, perhaps. While that ambition for energy independence is, absolutely the long-term goal we should aim for, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the necessary, right? The immediate, really profound crisis in dense urban areas is simply solving the access problem.
Access, meaning?
Meaning the main roadblock stopping mass EV adoption today isn't necessarily the source of the energy right this second. It's whether someone living in an apartment without a private garage can actually charge their car conveniently, affordably, and, safely. So my argument is that the immediate priority must be that rapid, equitable, and low-cost scaling. And the grid-connected streetlight retrofit model, well, it achieves that by using assets that are already perfectly positioned right there at the curb. We just need to get people charging, like, now.
Okay, I see why you prioritize that immediate social hurdle, getting chargers out there quickly. But let me give you a different perspective, one that's really rooted in long-term strategic necessity, true sustainability, and crucially, system resilience. These have to be the foundational priorities when we're designing infrastructure that's meant to last for decades, even if, yes, that means a higher initial cost. The core issue I see with any purely grid-tied charging, like your streetlight model, is that you are still completely tied to, well, the carbon footprint and the reliability of the municipal grid itself. If that grid is still heavily reliant on fossil fuels, which many are, then your EV isn't truly operating at near zero emissions, is it?
Well, not zero, perhaps, but significantly better than gasoline.
Sure, better, but not the ideal we're aiming for. And this is where battery storage becomes the critical intermediary. It acts as a necessary buffer. See, without storage, even the best solar panels are intermittent. Their energy is only usable when the sun shines brightly, leading to, frankly, pretty low utilization rates, often hovering around just 20%, maybe 30%. But integrating BESS lets us capture basically every surplus kilowatt hour generated and maximize that utilization up to potentially near 100%.
Okay, maximizing solar use. I get that.
And this maximization directly impacts the environmental goals. We're talking about reducing the life cycle carbon footprint by a really significant 1 to 2 tons annually for each vehicle compared to typical grid charging. That's not a small number. It's actually essential if we're serious about meeting global climate targets. Plus, and this is key, BESS ensures reliability and resilience. It provides essential backup power during grid outages, which is a critical strategic necessity, especially when you think about disaster-prone areas like coastal cities facing hurricanes.
Okay, that's a compelling argument about energy purity, absolutely. But have you considered let's call it the immediate impact of infrastructure cost and just the speed of deployment on getting to mass market adoption? The immediate, Number one roadblock isn't the purity of the source for most people right now, it's the sheer lack of rapid, equitable access, especially for those underserved urban populations.
Okay.
The Kansas City pilot, which the material details, it successfully demonstrated an immediate solution to exactly this problem. They converted, 23 existing streetlights into fully functional EV charging stations. Now, think about the infrastructure reality there. They already have the conduit running up the pole, they have the breakers, the meter base often right there on the sidewalk or close by. That completely bypasses the most expensive, the most disruptive part of building new infrastructure, which is digging up streets and sidewalks to run new, dedicated wiring.
All right, so it leverages existing stuff.
Exactly. And importantly, the study highlights the use of sophisticated AI models for site selection. This ensures equity. The planners specifically targeted underserved, dense urban neighborhoods. They looked at factors like land use, traffic patterns, and socioeconomic data to make sure the benefits were distributed fairly, reaching communities who likely can't afford or install a home charger. This approach, it provides a low-cost, easily replicable sort of three-step framework, and that feels like the essential blueprint we need for national EV adoption scaling today.
Okay, let's focus on that cost barrier you mentioned, because it is a major factor for scaling. I understand the sticker shock potential. The high initial capital investment needed for BESS is, well, it's substantial. A typical 10-15 kilowatt-hour battery system installed, you're looking at maybe $5,000 to $12,000, and that's not even counting the solar panels themselves. That kind of upfront cost definitely puts a damper on a city budget that's trying to deploy thousands of chargers quickly.
Right. Which makes the grid-connected streetlight model, simply because it repurposes existing assets and wiring, the clear practical winner if you need scale right now.
That is a powerful point on the upfront expenditure. I won't deny it. But I think looking only at the immediate cost kind of obscures the longer-term economic strategy here. While I fully acknowledge that the initial capital cost for BES is significantly higher, we really need to look at the total cost of ownership, the TCO, from a whole systems perspective.
Okay, TCO. How does that pencil out?
Well, first, that capital cost isn't static. It's dynamic. The source material itself points out that battery storage costs have already dropped by 20% just in the last year. That's a clear sign this trend is accelerating, moving towards much broader commercial viability. But maybe more importantly, we are talking about long-term economic returns here. By storing cheap solar power, users avoid buying expensive grid electricity, especially during peak demand times.
You mean like time of use rates?
Exactly. In many regions, utilities charge these dynamic time of use rate, where electricity prices spike dramatically in the evening, right when everyone typically comes home and plugs in their EV. Solar plus BESS systems, they let you avoid those peaks entirely. A decent 10 kilowatt-hour battery system, the estimate suggests can save a typical EV user maybe $500 to $1,000 annually in electricity costs. It effectively acts as an income stream, or at least a significant cost reducer. Then you factor in federal incentives, like the substantial 30% investment tax credit currently available. Suddenly, the payback period for these systems can track to maybe 5 to 8 years. So financially, the long-term TCO looks superior because it generates economic returns and delivers that energy independence. Can a city honestly justify infrastructure that saves money on day one, but doesn't future-proof against rising volatile energy costs down the line?
That's a fair point about TCO and future costs. But let's pivot back to my core philosophical concern for a moment, which is the source of the energy today. The streetlight model, as brilliant as it might be for solving the physical access problem quickly, it does rely entirely on the municipal grid.
Right.
And that grid power, well, it's supplied by whatever the regional energy mix happens to be, which often means the charging energy is still tied at least partially to fossil fuels. So if our ultimate goal is truly near zero emission commuting, if we really want to maximize the environmental benefit of switching to EVs, how can we prioritize a solution that, well, kind of compromises the very environmental promise of the transition itself? It doesn't feel truly clean if it's drawing peak power from a coal or natural gas plant every evening.
Okay, but the equity factor you yourself raised earlier is undeniable. We absolutely have to solve this charging anxiety for people in dense urban areas, people without driveways or garages. We are, in effect, prioritizing the resident who needs to charge their car tonight over achieving the perfect, pure energy source maybe 10 years from now. That feels like a necessary precursor to me. Getting EVs adopted widely first creates the demand and political will to clean up the grid faster.
A precursor, maybe? But doesn't it bake in reliance on potentially dirty power?
Well, here's another angle. That reliance on the municipal grid isn't solely a disadvantage, operationally speaking. In fact, the research from the Kansas City pilot found that the streetlight model actually provided faster and more reliable charging speeds in some cases.
Faster? How? This is key. Each charger draws power from its own dedicated municipal circuit. These circuits were originally designed to power things like, well, streetlights, maybe traffic signals, not huge banks of high-draw commercial chargers all clustered together. So unlike those commercial charging hubs where multiple EVs might be competing for power from one central high-capacity feed, the individual streetlight circuit faces almost no congestion. This guarantees more predictable, consistent power delivery to the vehicle. So with this model, we're achieving equitable access, affordability, and potentially an improved charging experience all immediately. We simply have to solve the access problem rapidly, affordably, and equitably before we can realistically focus all our efforts on maximizing renewable source purity across the board.
Okay, interesting point on the circuit capacity. But let me raise another practical concern, this time about your preferred model. The technical implementation of BES, especially thinking about urban logistics, implementing these battery systems in really dense infrastructure, it faces some severe physical limitations, right? As the source material even notes, large battery systems need dedicated space. Often the space needs to be temperature controlled, ventilated. Finding and securing that kind of space within the very limited public right-of-way of an already congested city, sidewalk, or street, that seems incredibly challenging. Doesn't integrating a bulky, complex battery system kind of undermine the whole low-cost, simple scalability that makes the streetlight model so attractive in the first place? I mean, where does that battery physically go in a crowded urban canyon?
I agree that urban space constraints are a significant practical reality. It absolutely demands sophisticated engineering solutions, no question. But the resilience and the grid support benefits that BES provides, I'd argue they are strategically non-negotiable for critical urban infrastructure moving forward. The functional benefits, I believe, far outweigh the installation difficulties, and frankly, we must find space for them.
Okay. Convince me the benefits are that non-negotiable.
All right, firstly, think about load balancing. This is crucial for the utility company's stability, especially as EV adoption grows. Imagine thousands, eventually millions, of EVs plugging in around 6 p.m. That creates a massive, sudden demand spike on an already often aging utility grid. The integrated battery in a solar plus BSBS system acts like a shock absorber. It can store solar energy generated during the day and then release it during that evening peak demand period. This relieves enormous pressure on the utility, potentially avoiding the need for them to fire up expensive and often dirtier peaker plants just to meet that temporary surge.
So it helps the grid manage the load. Makes sense.
Exactly. But maybe more critically, it's the ability to provide backup power during large-scale grid failures. This is something the purely grid-tied streetlight model fundamentally lacks. Imagine a major storm, a heat wave, some event that causes a mass outage. The solar plus BESS charging unit can potentially keep those stations operational using its stored energy. That allows first responders, essential workers, maybe even just citizens, to maintain critical mobility and communication via their EVs during a crisis. That layer of resilience, I think, is simply non-negotiable for modern city planning, and we already have proof that integrated solar plus battery units are viable in these settings. Look at things like the Beam Global EV Arc units, those standalone stations deployed in parking lots, even in disaster-prone areas. They successfully generate and store their own power, completely off-grid, proving the physical engineering challenge is solvable, and the strategic benefit is immense.
Okay, so wrapping up my perspective here, ultimately, while I absolutely acknowledge the brilliant scalability and the immediate cost effectiveness of the streetlight model for getting chargers out there and achieving that equitable access quickly, the long-term, truly sustainable, strategic foundation must, in my view, be built on energy independence and maximizing that renewable utilization, aiming for 100%. That level of operational efficiency, that resilience during outages, and the genuine carbon reduction that comes from using stored solar, that's something only BSS can really guarantee. It ensures we capture and use nearly all of that clean energy, which, as I argued, also leads to a superior total cost of ownership over the long lifespan of the infrastructure.
And from my side, the Kansas City model, it really offers the essential blueprint for near-term success. It tackles the equity and access crisis head-on, affordably and immediately. And it uses sophisticated AI planning to ensure that deployment is fair, targeted right where it's needed most often, next to large apartment buildings where people have no other options. We need rapid EV adoption today if we're serious about meeting climate goals. And that requires removing the biggest barriers, cost and access right now. While solar plus BSS is definitely a worthy future integration, maybe the next step, the rapid equitable scaling using existing municipal assets like streetlights, that feels like the defining strategic imperative that solves the largest social challenge first.
You know, listening to this, it seems clear that both models offer unique and frankly necessary advantages. They just address different challenges along the adoption curve, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And the source material itself seems to hint at a future where these ideas might converge. The concept of maybe retrofitting that scalable streetlight framework with batteries later on, perhaps, smaller ones, to further cut emissions and reduce grid strain, that's apparently being actively considered.
Indeed. So the best solution for sustainable urban EV adoption might not be strictly either or. It could very well be a combination, perhaps deploying the affordable, equitable framework like the Kansas City Streetlight Initiative immediately to solve that pressing access crisis,
coupled with a phased strategic plan to integrate more localized energy storage solutions like BESS as battery costs continue to fall and as urban density increasingly demands greater grid resilience. The journey seems to require both, well, speed and long-term strategy.